Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 7, episode 10, entitled The Good Fight. This is the episode, next week's episode is going to be the mid-season finale, so this is the next to last episode. So let's just jump right into it. Jordan and Andy, I guess all is well, all is forgiven, and they're in there fooling around early in the morning, doing what grown people do, and then she hears a news reporter, talking on the news about Jordan and the, case being dismissed and the girl recanting her story. And it appears that they're outside of her apartment, which, I guess they're going to be there to get Jordan's insight or, on this new turn of events or whatever. And so they're going on listening to the news or the report or whatever's going on. And they're going to say how the girl took it all back and, she denies, anything actually happened. And, he's relieved that all of this is over. But he's also, at the same time, he's upset about the fact that the media and everybody else took her word for true. And they took the information and ran with it. And Andy takes his time to remind him that, while you might be passing, you're not passing well enough to have the privilege, you're still a black man in America, and that's just how the game goes, and that's always a possibility, unfortunately. All right, so Fatima and Zach, they're talking, and he can't believe that, he's looking at this bill, right? And it's for therapy, the multiple different forms of therapy that Michael needs, and he's upset because it costs more than his car note, and Fatima's like, yeah, taking care of a child is expensive. And then to add to that plate, he has Karen's 2 babies coming up and Fatima's school that he has to pay for. There's just a lot of things that, is coming up financially. He's going from being a single carefree guy coming into all this money. Now he has all these familial obligations that he has to uphold. And Fatima's like, well, let me pump your brakes, my guy. I can pay for my own college, so that's not an expense you have to worry about. But, again, he's still stressed about all this money that's going out. And she reminds him, and he's like, okay, I got to, come into some money. I got to make some things shake so I can take care of my, my immediate family that I now have going on. And he, everybody's getting ready for the day. He's about to head out. She reminds him, like, hey, I'm getting off late tonight. So, you got Michael squared away. And he's like, well, no, I thought I had plans to go hang out with the guys. And she was like, no, sir. I'll be working. It's not going to work. Somebody has to stay here with this baby. And the thing that stood out to me about this scene is that he automatically assumed that she was the one that was going to make the sacrifice that evening. Sans prior, discussion. There was no prior discussion about who's going to stay home with baby Michael tonight, or how that's going to look. And that seems to be a recurring theme with Zach, assuming that because Fatima is the ovary carrying member of this thing, that she's the automatic, parental thing that's going to make all the sacrifices for Michael. And that is not a prior discussion that they've had. So I don't know how this is going to work. Also, when she, gets into school full time, I don't know. He says it's not going to be a problem. He said it, when he was celebrating her acceptance into the school. But I can see this being another one of those long drawn out fights that they're going to have, unfortunately. So let's move on. Karen is at the shop and the nurse calls her. She's calling because the doctor would like for her to come in tomorrow. She's found out something on the amniocentesis. That's the DNA test that she got performed in the babies that she's currently carrying in utero. So now we have to play out this paternity thing for one more episode. I'm sure that we're coming up on the mid-season finale, so I want y'all to prepare your hearts and minds to know that we're not going to have an answer next week. And we got a few more months to live with this. Y'all good? Okay. All right. Sabrina is at the bank and she's ready for the branch manager interview. She's a nervous wreck. And then India, finally shows up. Thanks for coming in early. Blah, 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 blah. Couple small talks. And then she tells Sabrina that one of the staff members has voiced their concerns about your ability to lead, and they don't trust that you'll be a sound leader. We can all attest to the fact that it was nosy-ass Paige, but she did not, give away the identity of this person. Sabrina is like, well, where's all this concern coming from, considering my work ethic? I'm the first one here. I'm the last one to leave. I've worked very hard to prove myself before and after the case where I was determined to be innocent. Where's this coming from? And she reminds India that I was innocent, so that can't, you know, the court case and all that stuff can't be the issue. What's the problem? And India tells her, like, listen, I'm just trying to be fair to the staff. She's like, well, fair to the staff? Like, what about the fairness for me? She tells Sabrina, like, listen, this ain't personal. This is business. And I would be willing to believe that if you were not operating off of hearsay and somebody else's opinion, because when India brought Sabrina back on, she was comfortable bringing her back because, again, she can attest to who Sabrina is as an employee. So, again, this is hearsay, which would make it personal, not professional. And so Sabrina just kind of, you know, we're used to Sabrina being calm, cool, and collected, but this was the last straw. This was her 13th reason. So she loses it. She goes on this rant, you know, amongst tears, but she's really sound in what she's saying. She's telling India, like, hey, I've given this company my best. Even while y'all threw me out, you know, while the case was going on and it turns out that I was innocent, y'all gave me the job back. But again, y'all didn't do me any favors. It is what I was owed because I was innocent. Y'all didn't do me any favors. In India, you know, she pours out her heart. She does this whole speech about what she thinks she deserves and that's not being fair. You know, going off somebody else's opinion of who she is as a person. And India, she pours her heart out, you know, and says what she says. You know, she's standing on business about how she feels about it. And India simply tells her, like, you know, I'll let you know. Now, when looking at India, you can kind of tell that the speech may have softened her opinion of Sabrina or what this proverbial person thinks about Sabrina. However, what pissed me off in this scene is the fact that this lady, amongst tears, poured her heart out. And while you said it's not personal, again, I've already previously stated how it is personal. You did nothing to, I don't know. You did nothing to soften her countenance. It was like she poured out and she explained all these things. And I'm sure whoever told you that they don't trust that Sabrina's a good leader, quote unquote, you listened to them, you heard what they had to say, you gave your input, and you said nothing to Sabrina. You didn't tell her, like, you know, yeah, this is what this person said, but I don't believe it. Or, you know, I'm still working to determine, you know, working through some things. You did nothing. You just let her pour out her heart and just walk away with no insight into, you know, what your thought process was about, you know, said porridge, but whatever. And so Sabrina leaves the room and she, you know, her chest is held high. Her head is held high. She feels good about what she said. Now, I doubt she doesn't feel good about the interview, but she feels good about, you know, expressing what she feels about how the interview went. And so that tells me, you know, no matter how it goes, win, lose, or draw, I said what I said. I said what I felt. And the rest is on y'all. I don't care. I said what I needed to say. And the rest we'll figure out in the wash. All right. So Miss Willis goes to Andy. And, you know, she's early because, girl, she can't be bothered with waiting on nobody. She also lets them know, like, I'm not a ma'am. Don't call me no ma'am. But, you know, she goes to see Andy. She daps her. She was like, I told you he was innocent. You know, they're happy that the allegations are all behind them thus far. And then she goes on to tell Andy, like, people are calling her capability into question under the guise of her being loose, air quote. Miss Willis is not judging because, again, we all have a hoe phase, you know, a proverbial hoe phase. So she's the last one to judge. But what she does tell Andy is that, you know, I need you to be more cognizant. Like, I need you up in your game. I don't need you to be pooping where you eat, if you understand the colloquialism. And Ms. Willis tells Andy, like, she's officially her counsel. You know, we celebrate that a little bit. But we also learn that she's co-counsel. So she's co-counsel with Hayden, if I'm not mistaken. She has to consider Hayden. I guess he came highly recommended for whatever reason. So she's, you know, both of them are co-counsel on a trial basis. And Hayden tells her, like, listen, I can just take over this case as, you know, lead counsel, whatever. I can take it off your hands, and then you can go back to, you know, helping your hood rat friends get off of their little minor cases, and I can take it off your hand. Of course, Andy's not going to go down without a fight. Okay, so that's what happened in that scene. Miss Willis, she didn't piss me off. It was the verbiage that pissed me off, right? So walk with me. So she goes back, you know, to reiterate to Andy what Gary said without, you know, divulging how that, you know, not word for word what Gary said, and saying, you know, that her capability is being called into question under the guise that she is loose. And, you know, while Miss Willis doesn't believe it, it pissed me off because my supposed looseness, again, that y'all are convoluting personal and professional. Loose, first of all, don't like the term because mind your damn business, like who she's sleeping with or entertaining or all this other stuff. First of all, loose is an inaccurate term when it describes vaginas. If I can push out a whole baby, shut the hell up. Anyway, it kind of told the line between, you know, bringing her personal life into a professional setting, but you know that also lends itself to Andy's actions because like she's reminded her like you've been pooping where you eat, so the lines have gotten blurred, and so now she has to kind of work to undo, you know, that scarlet letter, that proverbial scarlet letter that she has to try to circumvent. But it didn't, you know, Ms. Willis paid the dust, and so she's going to be on the payroll. She's going to be able to work with this high-paying client. Begrudgingly, it's with Hayden, but we're going to work to get rid of him, I'm sure. All right. Okay, so Danny is out for lunch with Tony's kids, right? Tony is somewhere in the bathroom, child. I don't know why he's in there for so long, but he is in there. And she's trying to talk to the kids, you know, trying to make nice, trying to start over on the good foot. And the daughter is giving very much sass. She don't prefer juice. She only like water. She don't do all this unhealthy, just talking trash, right? And then the son, he is not interested in anything but his cell phone. And so they're sitting at the table, you know, while Danny's present, and they're texting each other back and forth and giggling while she's trying to talk to them. And she's offering to start over, and they're not paying attention. And so she's just going to snatch both phones, and then y'all get them when y'all daddy get back because I'm trying to talk to y'all, and it is rude. And so she offers to start over as friends, and they were like, okay, well, yeah, if you want to be my friend buys me gifts. They buy me tickets to this place. They give me VR bucks, Braves game tickets, just running down the whole shakedown, the whole gamut. And we know that this is just to buy her affections so that they can have a good report, you know, when they talk to their dad about Danny. Tony comes back from the bathroom or wherever the hell he was, just none the wiser. I mean, they've shaken down Danny so much, all the way down to her necklace off of her neck. It is just a full-on extortion that they just ran on her. And she walks away from this conversation just really not even feeling it. And Tony walks away from the conversation. I don't know how he got the perception that everything is hunky-dory, but he walks away thinking that everything is just sweet as pie and they got along and we're good to go. No more issues. Doubt that very seriously. Your awareness is very much off, but we're just going to go with it. Zach goes to see Gary because he's been calling Gary 18 umpteen times because he gave Gary some money a while ago for him to potentially invest, and he realizes, you know, this was before, you know, the family unit and all that stuff came into play, and now he wants to opt out of the investment so that he can have that liquid cash to do what he needs to do for his family. I don't have a problem with that. It makes sense. It's logical to me. However, if you're not watching the Zatima series, you kind of maybe missed it. If I'm not mistaken, Gary and Zach kind of met through, don't remember his name, but one of Zach's other business partners. And so that's how they got hooked up. I don't think that's shown in this particular series. And so he's walking in and he's like, he's got an attitude because I know you dodging me. Like, I walked in your office and you're on the phone. Obviously, you know how to answer people. So where the hell's my money? And so he's like, listen, I just want my money back. That's all I want. And so Gary claims that the money is, it's in lockup, purgatory, wherever the hell he said the money is. It's not available for Zach to get it back. And he tells him, listen, you're an investor. You know how these things work. You know that these are risks that you have to take. And he was like, oh, yeah, like trying to play him dumb, really. Like, oh, well, you know, this ain't your first investment, but the one before this was. So, you know, basically, let me help you. So he's trying to play him like he's dumb. He's trying to talk to him like he's a child. And Zach can just barely hold it together. And Gary is like, well, you know, it is what it is, basically. And Zach's like, listen, I need my money today. Today. I need it today. And Gary's like, well, what if I don't? And Zach shows you exactly what happens when you don't. And Zach hauls off and punches him in his face. And, you know, I've probably never cheered for joy so loud at a TV series. Anyway, Gary, not want to be outdone. He kind of takes that lick on the chin, and he was like, "Listen, so you throwing that big of a tantrum over a little bit of money?" And what pissed me off is, sir, I don't give a damn how little or how big the money is. It's my money, and I want it now. Run me my stuff. And so Zach threatens to, end his life subscription. Go ahead and take him off the planet. And he pulls out a gun and sits it on the desk, and then continues to insult him, and calling him weak and telling him that he has no control over his bee, talking about Fatima. Like, I think he's poking at him to get a bigger reaction, because he's already realizing that Zach is angry, and he could push him so far that he can probably get him locked up or whatever. And, Zach did really good in kind of controlling himself, other than the little chin check, other than the punch. And Zach tells him, he's like, "Listen, you calling me weak, but I'm demonstrating quite a bit of strength by not picking this gun up off this desk, and again, unsubscribing you from the planet." And Gary reminds him, like, "Listen, you're not gonna do it. I know you're not gonna do it, because your kids will end up being a fatherless bastard just like yourself." That's what that man said to that man. That's what that man said to the other man. And that, for me, would have been my 13th reason. I would have took you and me off the planet, because who are you playing with? But whatever. Zach picks up the gun, and he decides to, instead of utilizing it, he decides to empty it. He takes all the bullets out, even the one that's in the head, because there's always one in the head, if you prepared. So, he took all the precautions, and he tells him, like, you're really not worth it. And then Penelope walks in that moment, and that kind of breaks up the tension, and Zach is going to go away. All right, Zach gets home, and he is just shocked, appalled, and taken aback at the fact that Fatima has made dinner. He's not as excited about it as he normally is, because he got a lot on his plate. And now he has to tell her about going to see Gary, and how that whole thing went down. And Fatima knows that, first of all, she didn't realize that he was investing with Gary, and she told him, like, that was the dumbest idea you could ever have. But I have a solution. Let me offer you. Would you like to let Madam handle it? So Madam, if you're unfamiliar, Madam is Fatima's cousin over on All the Queen's Men. She is like she's like Griselda B type woman. She's a boss. She owns a all-male strip club. If you are not watching the series, you should go watch it. It's very much exciting. Probably even much more exciting than this show. I do review it, but they're on hiatus. The season just ended, so if that's something you're interested in, go check it out. Either way, she offers to let Madam take care of it. And if you know anything about Madam, she'll take care of anything and anybody at the drop of a dime. And Zach is like, just give me a chance to get my money back first, and then we'll figure out what the next steps are. So we'll be dealing with that here soon. What else we got? I don't feel like talking about the Trey and Karen thing, because I'm sure we're going to see a lot of him this season, unfortunately. So we're gonna move on. Maurice has a date with Grayson, and so he shows up. Grayson shows up with flowers in hand. Very cute, very cute. Maurice thinks that Grayson is wonderful. You show up with flowers. You're kind. You consider all these things. Well, why the hell are you single? You're so amazing. Why are you single? And he claims that he's been burned in the past, and he's really not in a rush to get back into anything. But he'd be willing to make an exception if the right person comes along. That don't be moving me. If that's where you are in your particular journey, stay there. Don't make no exceptions for me, because if I know anything about a little bit of something, you're going to constantly be reminded that this person made this exception just for you, because you're so amazing and you're so special. So don't take that as a compliment, Maurice. Also, just to go ahead and go on the contradictory route, Grayson tells him, I'm single because I'm not looking for any commitment. I don't want to rush into anything. However, in the prior episode, he tells Maurice that he wants him to give up his profession as let's just call him a virtual call girl, right? I'm a virtual escort of sorts. I like that term better. Tells him, that he doesn't like the job, and he doesn't like that his potential partner is available to everyone virtually. And in the next breath, which would be now, he's telling him, I'm not rushing into anything. So as I said in the last episode, don't give up your job because this ain't even solidified just yet, my guy. All right. As they're sitting there talking, some dude rolls up and he's like looking all in Marcy's face. He's like, I know you. Didn't I see you, in your virtual escortiness last night? And he was like, and Marcy's trying to put up, he was like, you don't know me? Like, what you talking about? He was like, Throat Goat 763 or whatever the name was, right? And he's like, I really enjoyed what you did with the pickle last night. Blah, 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 blah. Like just going ham, trying to take pictures, making the block real, real, real hot. And Grayson you can see like he's horribly embarrassed and, horribly offended at what has just taken place. So now we have to deal with that, of course. All right, so we see the girls at Sabrina's for a little heavy hors d'oeuvre happy hour. And you see the guys over at, I don't know whose house, and they're talking at the same time. And we're getting two different stories at this instant. Danny thought that the kids were absolutely horrible. And then you shoot over to Tony at the guys' night, and he's telling the guys the meeting went off without incident. Everything went off without a hitch. And so you got contradicting stories. I guess, depending on where you're standing, you could see it both ways. Like, Tony comes out of the bathroom and everybody is all smiles and all chipper. And so maybe to him, it looks as if everything went well. Now, Danny, you're going to have to take a second and tell him that it did not, or you did not walk away fulfilled by the meeting, but it's not going to happen immediately because this is how the show goes, right? All right. Under this scene, we also see Andy tell the girls that Jordan said the L word. He said, I love you. And she did not say it back. She thinks she feels the same way, but she ain't said it back yet, girl. And I appreciate you not rushing into anything, kind of playing it easy because we're fresh off of, we're in the middle of him running for councilman. So, a lot of his time is going to be tied up. We're fresh off a sexual allegation. So, the block is high and we just need to settle into this thing considering we're only 4 months in, right? Sabrina tells him how the interview went. She doesn't think it went well. She thinks she may or may not have lost her job, but we'll see, see how that goes as well. Probably not going to get an answer to that either because we got to have some sort of cliffhanger that's going to hold us over until we come back from mid-season finale. Right. Now, this is probably what the next part of this episode is what the cliffhanger is going to be. Absolutely 100% is what it's going to be. Either way, Penelope is sitting there talking to Gary, and she insists on making him talk, after Gary left his office. After Zach left the office. And she's giving him all kinds of attitude, and he's trying to tell her, like, listen, I don't have time for your crap today. Go home and we'll talk later. And she was like, no. She's sitting there with her legs crossed, and she's like, no, we got to talk, and we're going to talk now. And she pulls out Miss Kimberly Potter's picture and asks him where, what went on with you and Kimberly. Kimberly is the girl that he went to high school prom with that ended up missing, that her parents thinks he has something to do with. This is what Andy was able to find in the investigation, right? And so she gave Penelope explicit instructions to shut the hell up, go home, act normal, pack your bag, and I'll get you to the safe house. All she had to do was go home. But I felt like she had a renewed sense of, like, I think she felt like she had the upper hand of some sort by confronting him with this information because her countenance was way less docile than it normally is when interacting with Gary, but it was for naught. But anyway, and so he claims, like, listen, that girl went missing and I had nothing to do with it. I've already said that. And she's like, well, would her parents think the same thing? So now she's pissing him off. His temperature is rising. And he was like, well, furthermore, who told you to go snooping around in my information? What I'm going to tell you is you need to be careful snooping around because I'm not the person that you think I am. Girl, that would have been it for me. You hands up, don't you? You got it, my boy. I don't even want to talk no more. She going to keep poking, keep going. And, she ain't buying, none of his story or whatever. And he don't really give a damn if she's buying it or not. And, he's threatening to do something to her that he will not regret. And she was like, well, oh, what? Like, what you gonna do? You gonna shake the table? Like, what are you like? Penelope stood on big business. Now, it might have cost her a life, but she stood on big business. I give it that. And you can physically see, like, I give it to, I don't know his name, I don't know his real name, but I give it up to him. You could see the light bulb switch, you can kind of see where his face would blank, and like Gary wasn't really in here anymore. Somebody else had entered the chat, and his face went blank, and she calls him a can I say murderer on YouTube? I don't know, I'm saying anyway. She calls him a murderer, and he throws her to the ground, and you can see that she's in a lot of pain because it appears that she's landed on her stomach, and there is blood everywhere. And he has left the chat, and he is not even apologetic about it. He's just standing there like, you know, I told you. I told you I was going to do something that I wasn't going to regret, and I don't regret it. That is what he gave. And so that is how the episode ended. Now, in the next episode, it looks like Gary, I keep calling him Gary. Looks like Gary has a cleanup crew there to pick up the blood and the body. Hopefully it's not Penelope. Maybe it's just the baby. I don't know. We'll see in a few days. We also see Fatima and Andy trying to find Penelope and asking where she is. But we also see my girl Fatima, you know, pull out a knife, and she got that thing to Gary's throat, and she's like, listen, where's Penelope? So that is how we're going to end this particular episode. Like I said, this has been season 7, episode 10. We got one more episode next week, and we'll be at the mid-season finale. Then we'll be on hiatus for probably a couple months, typically. So let me know what you think about the episode. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.